My name is Arda and this is my presentation on the stories in classroom interaction. Let's get started. In this presentation, I will be talking about storytelling in classroom interaction, how stories begin in the classroom, what carries a story forward, how stories influence the classroom, and analyzing stories in classrooms. I will be giving short examples and we'll be talking about all of these headlines throughout the slides. First, let's start with storytelling in classroom interaction. Stories are we tell stories to talk about our experiences that are relatable to the classroom environment, what we are talking about, what our subject is. We tell these stories to give examples on these, uh, and these stories are not digressions. They address emotional and immediate needs. They help make complex or personal experiences understandable. These storytellings build connection, empathy, and classroom community. Through these stories, teachers and students can bridge different perspectives, meaning we can share different points of views, different ideas on a subject. And when these storytelling sequences work successfully, learning deepens, and when it fails, the communication in class kind of breaks down. Storytelling moves learning into, through, and beyond the classroom, uh, meaning we use these storytelling to, like I said, talk about the subject, deepen the subject in the classroom. We talk through these storytelling sequences to, like again, deepen our understanding on a subject, and these actually change our thoughts in the future and give us some future knowledge in our subject when we use these storytelling sequences. Next, we have how stories begin in the classroom. Stories often start by claiming the floor or responding to open-ended questions. Both teachers and students can invite stories through curiosity-driven prompts. Even content-focused questions can turn into stories about lived experience. Students may tell stories unprompted when something matters to them. Objects such as toys, notebooks, clothes, and tools can act as story triggers. For example, we see something that reminds us of a experience that we've had in the past, and we share our thoughts about that experience in class, and it deepens our learning in the subject in that class. Classroom events such as show and tell, transitions, and borders of lessons create story spaces. This is kind of similar to sub objects, but it's more like subjects instead of objects. Interruptions are often bits for connection and engagement. We interrupt our teacher or whoever is talking at that moment to tell the story that we have in mind about that subject, which makes this engagement between those that speak uh, to create a bond between them in that conversation. And listening to these stories reveals what students care about and need to express, meaning the students want to express themselves by telling those stories they have in mind. So it makes them more content with the classroom. Next, we have what carries a story forward. Stories often follow a problem to response to consequence pattern. Familiar story forms help listeners stay engaged even across differences. There is no single right way to tell a story, as pretty much everything we've talked about in terms of education in this class. There is no right way to do something. There only good ways that the ways that work, and everything works in a way, but there are things that are better for some things. These stories vary in structure, truthfulness, linearity, and moral stance. Cultural and social backgrounds shape what counts as a good story, meaning our culture, of course, shapes our understanding on a subject, how we view something. So, of course, these change what we count as a good story. In classrooms, stories are often co authored by peers and teachers, meaning both peers, students, and teachers manage these stories, how we tell those stories. Audiences shape stories through questions, reactions, and silence. This means even silence can actually show what the audience thinks about the story you tell. Uh, Asking questions mean if someone is asking you questions about what you're talking about, they mean that means they're content with what you're saying. They care. They are curious about what you're saying. Uh, they react to some stuff. It might be excited, shocked, or something like that. They show what they think about what you're talking about, and even silence gives a message on the subject. It depends if it's good or bad, depending on the subject. Students tell stories for a dual audience, peers and teachers. Peers and teachers have different views. They might think different things about what you're talking about. They might have different outcomes that they have in mind, depending on what you're talking about. When teachers value only one style, one story style, some voices are lost. Uh, this is kind of like when the part that I said there's no single right way to tell a story. Uh, Everyone have their own different types of talking, learning, listening, and just taking in one single storytelling style means the others that don't like or prefer using that style are going to be quieter, less content with the classroom. So it's important to be open to all types of these storytelling styles. Next, we have how stories influence the classroom. Stories often become springboards for more stories. Uh, in Turkish, we have a saying "konu konuyu açar." It's probably in English too, but I don't know what the phrase is exactly. Uh, a subject opens another subject, so it goes on and on and on. We keep talking about different things. Uh, One door closes, another one opens. So after a story, some other student might have an idea, might remind themselves of a experience that they've had in the past, so they might want to talk about that. Next, sharing a story involves risk, which makes it powerful. Well, it's kind of like you prefer to take a risk in a classroom deciding to talk because it's like it forces you to be more social, it forces you to bravely talk about your opinions. So that's kind of the risk we're talking about. It's not really a big risk like life or death, but it's a social risk, more like storytelling invites multiple voices, unlike rigid teacher-led exchanges. Uh, like exactly like what I said here, it invites multiple voices. It's allows more people to talk about their opinions, so it makes more of an alive classroom environment. Through stories, students become recognized members of the classroom community. It's much better to talk about what you're thinking, tell stories about yourself, than just become quiet and talk in, sorry, sit in the corner of the classroom because, like I said here, through stories we become more recognized members uh, in our class. In the long term, listening to stories builds mutual respect and belonging. This is kind of connected to the one that I talked about before this. Stories help move beyond limiting labels and categories. Being known as a storyteller puts students in a position of strength. Uh, this is kind of like storytelling puts us in the point of the teacher as students, of course, for at least a short while because we are the center of attention. Everyone is listening to our story. We're kind of like the master uh, that directs the classroom at that point. Even simple, genuine listening can change a student's trajectory. Uh, when teachers listen to their students, it shows that the teacher cares about that student, so it kind of pushes the student to work harder, study harder, listen better in the classroom. And next we have analyzing stories in classroom. We can analyze these stories in the classroom by listening closely to identify a storytelling moment, firstly. Then recording the interaction, maybe. This might be via audio or video, if that's possible. We can transcribe the story to examine it carefully. And this is very important. We have to find a hotspot, something surprising or unexpected in that story. And we should ask key questions like what instigated this story, how did this story become, like how did it come to telling this story in this classroom, how did it begin and where did it emerge, like this is kind of the these are connected. How was it shaped by co-authorship and a dual audience, and how did it reshape the classroom interaction. uh, we can also ask questions about the future, like what information did we gather from this, or how will this be useful in the future. And that's about it. This is all from me. Thank you for listening.